Hey folks, it's Sonia with 2x2 Lagoto and Kennels. Hope you guys are having a great Saturday. We just hit a milestone on YouTube and I'm super excited. We hit 10,000 views, which is spectacular. I thought I would come to you today and do a short video on litter box training. The first few things you need to know about litter box training are that when puppies are born, mom meets all of their needs for the first several weeks, obviously. A part of meeting that needs includes stimulating them to go to the bathroom. So mom's cleaning them up for the first couple of weeks. About the first 14 to 18 days, she is cleaning them up. And she still will clean up after them after that, but they don't need stimulated like they do in those first 14 days. Around 16 to 21 days, if a puppy is given the opportunity to go away from where it nurses, plays, and sleeps, it will. And we discovered this about 30 years ago after our first debacle of paper training, our very first litter. That was awful, people. It was just... I'm sorry if you're out there listening to this and you had one of the puppies from that first litter, you know I'm sorry. Anyway, some of you went on and got a second dog from me, which was amazing. But I got better at figuring out a lot of the things after that first litter. One of those being litter box training. At first I used newspaper, shredded newspaper in the entire pen, and that was just disastrous. Then I divided the pen in half and used pine shavings, which got all in the fur and it tracked everywhere. It was a mess. And then I started using something called this pelleted pine bedding. And I have a bag here. Stand up and show it to you. Pelleted pine bedding. We get ours from Tractor Supply. You can also get anything that looks like this from your local pet store. They'll have it in smaller bags and they'll call it kitty litter or Yesterday's News. Yesterday's News is shredded newspaper that has been made into pellets. And that's fine to use. It's expensive. This pelleted bedding, this 40-pound bag is about $5 or $6 at your local tack or your local feed store. And it's absorbent. It smells earthy, pine scent, not overpowering, but it smells clean. When they use it, I can talk to you a little bit about that. The first 14 to 21 days, it's hit or miss, but given the opportunity, they train themselves really quickly, and by day 21, day 28, if it's a straggler, they have learned to exclusively go in the litter box. They're climbing into it and relieving themselves, both urinating and defecating. Now, this is the pan that we use when the puppies get a little bit bigger. We have a much bigger area for them when they're first learning how to use this, but for your purposes, when you're taking your puppy home, you're going to use, this is a concrete mixing tub. You can get it on Amazon for $7 or $8 or Home Depot or Lowe's for $5 or $6. And I've only got about an inch of bedding in here. Piece of fuzz. Only about an inch in here. It doesn't need to be too deep. Puppies will sleep in this. They will play in it. They will dig in it. And they will also go to the bathroom in it. Now, you and I would never dream of playing in our toilet. Puppies, they're just puppies. They will develop an aversion to it and stop eventually. But at first, you may find a puppy sleeping in it or playing in it or digging in it. And not to be grossed out, this too shall pass. So, that is a little bit about how your puppy becomes litter box trained. Let's talk now about why we litter box train. Well, it was a natural progression for mom to take the puppies in a separate part of the cave to relieve themselves. And I just kind of stumbled upon that, and I'm using that natural inclination to create a cleaner environment for the puppies. Rather than going wherever they please or wherever they get the inclination, they are being redirected to this. And we start out with about a 4 foot by 4 foot area for them with the pelleted bedding. That's how they start out. And we just keep making it smaller. We go to a kiddie swimming pool with the pelleted bedding, and then we go to this. You can see the pin that we have set up. It is a 4 foot by 4 foot pin. This pin is, I want to say 32 inches tall. It might be 36 inches. And that is acceptable. If you have a Lagodo that is a climber, and I'll tell you that on the front end, I'm not going to let you be surprised by that. Hey, this puppy's a climber. I'll tell you to get the lid. There's a lid that goes on the top of this, or even to get a taller one, maybe a 48-inch pin. Why do you need this when you take your puppy home? Our puppies go home around the 10 to 12 week mark, and their bladders are about the size of a walnut. And they can hold their bladder up to about 2 or 3 hours during the day if they are being crate trained. They can hold it for 4 or 5 hours at night if you take their water up at 7 o'clock like we instruct, and then going to bed around 10. And so the reason that you'll want to use this method is just for a transition when you take your puppy home from our home to yours. And about 50% of my clients go directly to crate training. The other 50% employ this method, and it just buys you some time while that bladder is getting bigger and while the brain bladder connection, the neuro pathways are being completed. So the brain has to tell the bladder to hold itself until we can relieve itself either in the litter box or outside. And the brain has to tell the bladder it's time to go. And so there's a lot of processes that the puppy has to go through in order to be able to be successfully housebroken. And sometimes, especially if you're a working family or a busy family, or a retired couple and you're on the go a lot, it just helps to have this litter box and this pin as a transitional tool. If you plan on using if you plan on using the exercise pin or the play pin at all for this transition time for a puppy to have someplace to go and play and rest, other than the crate, then you'll definitely want to have the litter box in there as well. So it is meant to be a transitional tool, normally about 4 to 6 weeks, depending on when your puppy goes home. The size of your puppy, how many puppies were in the litter. The bigger puppies obviously can hold their bladder a little longer and sooner. So the litter pin, the litter box, and the exercise pin or the play pin should be on a solid surface. You can see I have it on my kitchen floor here. It is wood. We live on a farm. I know some people wouldn't dream of doing this if they had wood floors in their house. You can buy a piece of linoleum remnant, really inexpensive, under $10 at Home Depot or a local floor covering place, Lowe's. Simple piece that is this 4 foot by 4 foot. You might want it to, actually you do want it to be a little bit bigger to extend outside of the area, and you can cut that to size or have them cut that to size. But you can see I have their litter pan with their litter. I have their stainless steel bucket for water. You can use that, or you can use a crock, something that is heavy and weighted so they don't knock it over. The other thing you can use is a rabbit water bottle. All our puppies are trained to use the rabbit water bottle because at 3 and 4 weeks when they're toddling around, we don't want them slipping into the water. And then at 7, 8 weeks of age, the puppies are dock diving in it, literally. They're playing in it. The group of them can't help themselves, and so it's just a mess. So we use the rabbit water bottles for them. It's cleaner, more hygienic, and I can also keep track of how much they're drinking, making sure everybody gets enough water. So any of those things inside this pen are great. You do need to make sure that your puppy has adequate access to water all the time, except after 7 p.m. when we're working through that housebreaking and crate training. So you can see I don't have a crate in here. You can, if you want, put a crate in here without the door on it. That is one of the methods we use when the puppies are about 5 or 6 weeks of age, to start getting them used to the idea of the crate. No bedding needs to go in here, no towels, no doggy bed. The only other thing that I would consider is the Coolaroo. And this is a cool product. It's one of the less expensive options for using for place training. We use that for place training. You can also use a bath mat, a small rug, or an actual doggy bed for place training. But that is all I would have in here, with the exception of maybe a real bone, like a knuckle or a femur, an American-made, grown, grass-fed, from a reliable source, either the pet store or your butcher. And you could also have an indestructible toy. If you Google or do an Amazon search for indestructible dog toys, those are generally acceptable. Kong is one. Nylabone has some indestructible toys. There's a lot that does show up for that. But this is what you would have for your setup. And like I said, you can have it in your laundry room, your bathroom, your basement, any place that's got a impervious floor. If you have carpet, if you have wood floor, if you have tile that you don't want your puppy to soil, then by all means get that remnant of linoleum to have underneath here. People ask often how often the puppy should be in here, and my answer to that is, if you're going to be gone 2, 3, 4 hours or all day at work, then by all means you need to be the person who is using this, definitely. We have some puppies go home whose owners report some transitional issues, and admittedly the owners say that they're anthropomorphizing, so they feel bad. That puppy is whining in the crate. So if there's whining in the crate, and my advice would be to work through it, because it's better for the puppy to learn right out of the gate to be in the crate, because we send puppies home very used to being in the crate. But if you need to use this for a transitional tool while your puppy is getting used to you and then restarting the crate, that's fine too, but you need to be in touch with me about that. So, but in general, you'll use this exercise pen and playpen when you're going to be gone for 2, 3, 4 hours or all day at work. You're also going to use it when you want the puppy out of the crate, but you can't fully watch the puppy. You got to take a phone call, you got to answer an email, you're cooking, you're helping the kids with homework, you've got company, and you don't want the puppy underfoot, but the puppy doesn't need to be out having free reign of your house, because they're going to go lax on their house training, and they're going to get into trouble. They're going to chew on things, they're going to get into things, they're going to positively reinforce negative behaviors. You would use this for those opportunities as well. Things not to do with this pen is to leave this open so that puppy can come and go. No, we're not doing that. We're not making this bigger by butting it up against something to expand it, because what happens is inevitably I'll get 2 or 3 calls from people who have taken a puppy home, who has been doing great on their crate training and showing great progression in housebreaking, and then suddenly I get this call, they're not going in the litter box. Were the puppies trained to go in the litter box? Yes, that's the only method we have been using, and that is the only place that they are going to the bathroom, with the exception of between 7 and 10 to 12 weeks. We do start taking them outside, introducing them to the great outdoors in short bursts, and introducing them to the concept of housebreaking, but it is not a true housebreaking training because their bladders are just too little. But people will call me and say, oh my goodness, they're peeing all over the floor, and there's only two reasons. One is the litter pan is either too small for the puppy, or the pen is too big. So if you have too much room and the puppy's way over here and the litter box is way over here, the puppy's brain is not saying, oh, I need to relieve myself and walk way over there. Whereas if it's small and enclosed, you're forcing them into that option. This is the only option. Unless you want to soil where you're eating, drinking, playing, and sleeping, you need to use this. So that's the concept there. So the small 4x4 exercise or playpen, whatever you want to call it, the pan with the litter, and this really should be the only pan or bag that you have to buy for that 30-day transition, that 4 to 6 week transition. You keep it to an inch in the pan, and we use Ziploc bags to remove any solid waste, and you can use a you can buy them at the dollar store real cheap, a spatula to spatula out where they have gone number one. It will disintegrate the pelleted bedding into kind of a fine dust, so it makes for easy cleanup, and you can see right where they've gone. So that's kind of my synopsis on the exercise pen and litter box training. If you have any other questions, please refer to our website. You can email me at 2x2lagoto@comcast.net. You can check out our website, 2x2lagoto.com. Be sure to like this video, be sure to share it, and make sure you're subscribing so you get updates when I send out new videos. All right, thanks. Have a great day.